What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're reacting to we all missed one room, and it changes FNAF forever. Um, this was suggested by Christian White, and for those that have a video they want me to react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. So, what do I think about this? I have no clue. I have no clue about what this mysterious room is. I don't recall a room that's there in security breach that I missed. Maybe there's a secret room that's a higher rank. I don't know. I can't recall something like that. Oh wait, yes. Security level 7. I remember that one. It's year before you go to the elevator for Monty's Golf, or yeah, it's in between Monty's the area where you have to take the elevator to go to Monty's Golf, and what is it called? What is it called? Basically where all the pirate ship stuff and sea coastline design decoration, whatever it's called, is. In between there's those two, there's a pathway and there's a door that says level 7 or 8 access, so that might be it. I think there might be one in Vazer Blaster. At least I think there is. I can't say for sure. I might be completely wrong about the matter, so yeah, that might be a thing. So maybe it's that. Maybe someone actually figure out how to get into there. That'd be really interesting, not gonna lie. But I don't know. I guess there's only one way to find out. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when a video comes out. The link to these videos can be down in the description below, so be sure to give the original creators some love and support for the video that they made. And yeah, with all this said, let's start this video.
Hello everyone, Twisted Animatronic here, and I can't believe we've
There's your
all
name,
missed this entire time in Security Breach. And I know you're probably thinking it's a tiny detail, right? A little plash or something like that. Well, you'd be completely wrong, because it's an entire area, an entire room. You see, this place has completely been forgotten about, or people haven't been able to solve its purpose. That is...
Wait. Oh yeah! There is... Huh. The room it's in is in parts and service. Yeah, I remember. How could I forget that one? Yeah, that yellow door. Was it level 10 access? Well, it was boarded up, so guess so. How weird, I don't recall something like that. Did it escape in the back of my mind? Or, that's weird. Very weird. Okay.
is until today, and believe it or not, this could potentially unlock the true meaning and purpose of the Pizzaplex all along, and it all relates to this area right here. Now, I've never seen anyone really talk about this area in depth, and it's the parts and service, you know, the place where Moon kidnaps Freddy, takes him there, and Vanessa interrogates him. But that's not what I want to focus on, although I will come back to it later. I want to focus on these holding cells right here, and that's exactly what they are, holding cells. Now, immediately you'd think they are meant to keep someone or something, right? And they're all the same. Well, wrong, because two of these rooms are just standard rooms. They are holding cells, of course, but there's one room in particular which was a level 10 door, boarded up, and the window was completely smashed in, indicating whatever was in there fully escaped. This indicates that this room specifically was meant for a different purpose to the others. But why? Why would the Pizzaplex be having basic prison cells below its venue, and what was their purpose? Now, looking around immediately, you'd think it's to do with the endos, right? Because you see the endos everywhere. It's literally outside the endo training rooms. They're there to keep the endos inside of. Well, that doesn't seem to make sense, because on the other end of this room, you know, the one with the holding cells, we actually see endos in cages, not in holding pens. But here's the thing. If they did want to activate the endos, they couldn't have them in cages. They'd have to observe their movements, behaviors in the pens, right? Again, makes sense. But then why was there a specific pen, which was a higher level of security, indicating they didn't keep just a regular endo in there. Something else was kept there. And not only that, why would they be keeping endos in these rooms anyway? I mean, there's a whole area dedicated to all these endos. All these other rooms would
I mean, when you put it like that, it does raise a lot of questions. It really does raise a lot of questions.
Wouldn't they be in there? I mean, they were padded, they could clearly observe the training or behaviours of these endos in exactly the same way. No, these pens were kept specifically to keep something in there, monitor them, watch them, perhaps even experiment on them. All around this area are vats of liquid nitrogen. Why would they need liquid nitrogen? And the more you start to dig into this area, it only becomes more confusing because around this area, there are various strange rooms which don't indicate anything to do with the endos at all. I mean, take a look at this room. This room literally has a security desk in the middle of it with a camera pointed directly at it. I mean, almost as if they're training somebody or something to be a security guard in this padded room. This is extremely odd. We have torn up staff bots all over the place, against the walls, against grating, all of which indicate they've been attacked by something. And I mean, these are scattered everywhere. They have marks all over them. And you think,
I would like to say might be Monty, but that wouldn't make sense. Because he's out in the show and all that, and I highly doubt that they would just allow him to be there for any other reason. No, that actually came out wrong. They wouldn't allow him to be a part of the stage crew or anything like that if he was going to be violent against everyone when coming out. That wouldn't make sense. So I'm thinking something else. Maybe Roxy wouldn't make sense. Freddy wouldn't make sense. Bonnie wouldn't make sense. And Chica doesn't seem to have the claws to do what she did. I mean, to do what was mentioned.
first thought is immediately that the endos are there. When we play through this section as Gregory, they chase us no end and then attack us, right? So was it trying to tell us that the endos had made all this destruction? Well, it definitely looks that way, but then why would they be keeping them in these holding pens? We're missing something here. You see, there's only a few suspects which would have been kept in these pens for various reasons. One is the endoskeletons, which I'm going to say right off the bat, right here now, it wasn't one of them. It doesn't make sense. Maybe in one of the lesser rooms, possibly to monitor behaviors, but then surely they would have just monitored them in the other rooms anyway, where they were training them initially? Something's amiss. Could it be then that they actually kept Monty down there? I mean, he's shown to be extremely aggressive at the start of the game in his green room, destroying everything. Maybe they put him down there to see what was wrong with him, figure it out and put it right. Well, the evidence suggests that isn't the case. If that was the case, they'd put him down there after every single show. And that doesn't happen because they literally need him for shows, so he can't be down there boarded up in a room. Whatever was in this room was clearly extremely dangerous and very important. Otherwise, they'd just simply deactivate it, put it in the scrap pile like many of these other endos and animatronics we see, and move on. No, this thing was very important, and they were keeping it down there for a reason. And I know your mind immediately then goes to the Mimic. That's extremely dangerous. That was boarded up down in the basement. Could it be that it was...
The Mimic was trapped down there, so it makes no sense for him to be up there, because I think he was still trapped down below, and yeah, don't think so. I really don't think so.
Hold up here before they moved it down? Well, evidence again suggests this might not be the case. I mean, the broken glass is still extremely fresh, and at this point in time, the Pizzaplex was open. This means then that that glass was smashed extremely recently, even potentially on that very night. Otherwise, that glass would have been cleaned up, right? Well, you could argue against that because the Pizzaplex is seen in a complete mess all around the place. So that glass could have been there for weeks potentially. And the point I'm getting at here is it couldn't have been the Mimic kept in that room because we also know that the Mimic was kept downstairs in the old abandoned pizzeria for a very long time. Gregory tells us this himself, and they poured concrete over the entrance of it. That would take weeks to cure. So if the Mimic was kept in this pen in its early lifespan, the glass on the floor would have been there a very, very long time. And the door was boarded up, indicating whatever was in there, they didn't intend on letting it out anytime soon, right? I mean, you don't board a door up If you're going in there on a daily basis or plan to be letting something in and out on a regular basis, you board the door up when you know you're never going back in, or whatever's inside there is never coming out. Here's the thing though, that doesn't completely rule out the Mimic. I'll come back to him because you see, there's other people and animatronics in this frame. We touched on one earlier, Bonnie. Now, Bonnie's sudden disappearance from his green room leaves a lot to be desired, and I've done a huge video on Bonnie and who his killer really was, and I'm going to say it right now, without spoiling that video, it wasn't Monty. And you see, I've done an entire theory on how Bonnie, believe it or not, actually went down to the FNAF 6 pizzeria, just like Freddy did, prior to being taken down there with Gregory. And believe it or not, there's plenty of evidence to suggest he went down there. I know, it's crazy. I highly recommend watching that after this, because that theory actually backs this one up. You see, it's highly likely that Bonnie did uncover some goings on at the Pizzaplex, and in doing so, made enemies out of Vanessa, or at this point, it was Vanny. You see, she could have took this opportunity to infect Glamrock Bonnie with the glitch trap virus as one of the first as a test subject. In doing so, he then goes completely wild off programming. They put him downstairs in this cell to observe and find out what was wrong with him, all while Vanessa/Vanny was getting all the data she needs. That part completely makes sense, right? Sure, but then what doesn't make sense is if he was infected with the glitch trap virus, he escaped his holding cell, then got killed off. That wouldn't make sense. You know, if he was infected and working for Vanny, she wouldn't kill him off, or Monty wouldn't kill him off either. They're all working for the same person, the same team. And as pointed out earlier, the glass is extremely fresh, and Monty's death potentially would have been months ago, judging from the logs we find at the Pizzaplex anyway. As much as I would have loved narratively for Bonnie to have been kept in that room, a prisoner, fighting back against the
I don't think that'd be the case. That'd be too weird of a storyline for Bonnie, because it just seems like you're trying to force the character to fit this one role when in actuality he doesn't. He really doesn't. So I don't know what else it could be when it comes to this matter. Just seems weird.
glitch trap virus and fighting back against the Pizzaplex, I don't believe it to be him. So that leaves us only with a few individuals here. And I know just before we move on, I'd like to make this clear because someone would probably ask this in the comments. No, I don't think they were keeping staff bots in this room, just to be clear.
No.
But what about the endos we see then, Twisted? You know, the ones which are literally in their rooms. Surely they'd keep them in there. Well, no, because if they wanted to monitor them for behavior purposes or to ensure they were trained correctly, they would just simply do that in the rooms they were training them in, right? Would make sense. Why move them out of there? They'd only move them into them pens if something is wrong. And that brings me onto this point right here. You see, the pens which were not boarded up, I believe definitely were kept for monitoring the animatronics which are infected by the glitch trap virus. Potentially even the prototype Freddy we see in Ruin. I mean, it's completely far gone, decides to attack us right off the bat, giving us all the indications that it is indeed a rogue animatronic. They could have been keeping the rogue endos, such as this prototype Freddy, in there in the early days to find out what the hell is going on. They were infected with the glitch trap virus. They won't know what that is, and by they, I mean the Fazbear technicians. They couldn't let that run loose with the others who would simply attack them and destroy them, much like we see all the destruction in the Endo training rooms. You know, the staff bots which are destroyed. Looks awfully like damage done by claw marks. You know, the claw marks of a prototype Freddy or a prototype Monty or ones which are infected with the glitch trap virus which we never see. We know there are multiple Freddys around the Pizzaplex. Look at Help Wanted 2. We see a Freddy there kept in cold storage. But there's something here which completely throws all this out. The boarding on that level 10 door. First off, it was a level 10 door, indicating it was the highest security possible in the Pizzaplex. And two, they boarded it up, indicating they didn't plan on letting whatever was in there back out. And if that was an animatronic, they would just simply, dismantle it or turn it off? They wouldn't board it up and just leave it in there. And if they wanted to observe its behaviors, they could have done that in one of the other rooms, right? Not put it in this room, the level 10 room, and then board it up. And upon boarding the door, surely you would have boarded the windows. That doesn't make sense, because here's what I believe actually happened. They put it in there, anticipating in leaving it in there a long time and boarding it up completely. I mean the door and then the windows. And whatever it was, they discovered it quite recently because the glass is still fresh. indicating whatever it was, it broke out extremely recently as well. Now, I know I talked about the Mimic earlier and said how it's been down in the FNAF 6 pizzeria a really long time, but the problem is here, a really long time doesn't give us a time frame, and it's extremely subjective. A really long time to me could mean several years, whereas a really long time to a, 10-year-old like Gregory or whatever he is, a really long time could literally be a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. It could literally be that they had the Mimic in there and planned on keeping it in there a long time, because if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that the Mimic and the Mimic 01 program is embedded in the Pizzaplex. They can't destroy the Mimic, because in doing so, they'll destroy the root folder, the root of all their mimicking programs. They can't do that, hence why they've got to keep it alive, hence why they lock it away. Hence why they lock it away in this room to start with. It escapes and then went on the loose in the Pizzaplex, although we don't see it during our playthrough in Security Breach. This then explains how Gregory knew the Mimic was down in the FNAF 6 pizzeria, because when it escaped initially in the Pizzaplex, somebody had to go and capture it, right, and take it down there, and not only that, board it up, pour concrete over the entrance, install the new MXEX with the new security systems, the new security nodes. That wasn't done 20, 30 decades ago. That was done extremely recently. And the Help Wanted 2 update we see actually shows us that someone took MXEX away from its original location, whether that was Edwin's factory or another place entirely, and took it to the Pizzaplex in a van, very much like the van we see in one of the endings where Gregory escapes the Pizzaplex with Freddy, right? This.
Oh, okay. So maybe it is the Mimic overall. That's interesting. So what? The Mimic was brought up and they were trying to observe it and make sure it doesn't do anything too crazy. But when it did, they decided to take it down below to the area it was locked in and just put concrete all over it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Help Wanted 2 update is showing us that the Mimic was getting trapped very recently, or at least being contained in its new holding pen beneath the FNAF 6 pizzeria. It comfortably explains how Gregory would have known about its existence, because it was in the Pizzaplex initially, before it got moved and taken down to the FNAF 6 pizzeria. I mean, it then makes sense why they were going to board it in that room and never let it out, because they literally do the same thing with it in the FNAF 6 pizzeria. They board it in a room and pour concrete over it, never letting it out. Exactly like they initially tried to do, board it in this room and never let her out. Didn't work, it escaped, and then someone had to go and contain it once more. And that's what I think Secret of the Mimic is going to show us. How it actually got to be down there in the first place. It didn't just stay down there for 30, 40 years. It's been happening quite recently. Someone put it down there recently and tried to contain it. That's why Help Wanted 2 was showing us with this new update. And further to this, believe it or not, there's actually a tally on the wall indicating whatever was in there was keeping track of how long they were kept there for. This is extremely interesting because it shows whatever was in there was sentient. It knew the days it was being kept in there for and was keeping track of it. If it was simply a glam rock or endo, it'd be standing there. It wouldn't be keeping track of the days. No, whatever was in there was extremely intelligent and wanted to know exactly how long they were kept a prisoner for. This only further adds to the mystery though, because if it was the Mimic, would it be keeping track of how long it was a prisoner for? Had it seen other people do this prior? We do know he was kept a prisoner in Ruin and was well aware that he was a captive there, hence why he tried to escape. Could the same thing have happened here? And I know what you're thinking. Immediately, is it a human? Well, as a human got the strength to smash this glass without, that would rule out Gregory, because we see no cuts or abrasions on him at all. Although we do know he does go to the medic center because Freddy says that he feels he is broken.
I feel you are broken.
Don't worry about it, I'm fine.
No, I feel that something is wrong.
But there's no indications of glass or him being cut in any shape or form. Could it be that someone broke it from the outside going in? Well, looking at the crime scene, as we're going to call it now, the glass is actually more on the outside than it is on the in, indicating whatever it was broke out from inside going out. To me, it doesn't seem like a human at this stage. Doesn't seem like an endo because it wouldn't be keeping track of the days. The only thing we know of which was kept a prisoner prior and knew that it was kept a prisoner was literally the mimic. But whatever way you look at it, this room intended to keep something in there for a long time. They boarded it up, and until now, no one's really talked about it. No one even really knew the meaning of this room. But I think we do now. I think it kept something in there extremely sinister and dark, escaped, and then they trapped it
Okay.
once more. And when I mean they, I mean Gregory and Freddy. Gregory literally upgraded Freddy with all the parts he needed to combat the mimic and put him back in his cell once and for all, and shutting the door on him for good. And with that being said, I'm shutting the door on this theory. But I'd love to hear.
Now that's an interesting thought process. So, the reason why that place would be destroyed would be through the mimic, which people captured, brought there, and so on and so forth. I'm thinking maybe the mimic was supposed to be the new body for William Afton, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Yeah, it makes sense because Vanessa still had the whole what is it called? Glitch trap virus. So maybe that was the goal. Use the virus to take over the mimic and give William a new body. That could be a reason. Is it a very strong reason or possibility? Kind of. I say like 50-50 because it does kind of make sense if you think about it like that way. At least to me, that is. So, if it's the mimic, that means that Gregory boosted up Glamrock Freddy to his maximum so he can combat the mimic and win for sure. I don't think that'd be the case. That just seems off. I know there's like something that could give a possible good reason or explanation, but I can't really think of it at this moment. So I do hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when the video comes out. And yes, with all this said, hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!